I love it when StreamYard comes up. It's showtime. Here we are live from the Circle Leadership Studios. Good day, everyone. Dave here. This morning, as it will be every Thursday morning, want to do a quick live stream and talk about certain topics that are relevant to businesses that are actually going to help you to evolve and stay relevant in the hearts and minds of the people that you choose to serve. And in today's quick live thing, we're going to talk about actually the heart of business. Uh, and one of the things that we've been working on at Circle Leadership for many years is how do we make people fall in love with why we do what we do for them? So I wanted to share with all of you some philosophy and thought process around where business has been and where it goes, and then how to actually get people to fall in love with why you do what you do for them as an organization. If you have any comments or questions, please just drop them into the live stream where you're seeing this right now, and I'll endeavor to answer as many of them as we go through this very quick live as well. I know Lisa's trying to jump in right now. Lisa, hi, if you're trying to jump in, it says your device is not connected. So nonetheless, you can monitor the comment stream for me. That would be awesome. So Lisa's our leadership coach based over in Queensland. So Lisa, if you can just monitor the comment feed as well, that'd be awesome. But let's get started. I don't want to waste much time. The best way for me to firstly set up the landscape or the environment to why we want to talk about this concept of business love, and love is all you need in business. I'm going to start with one of my favorite things, coffee. So for those of you who know me, my name's Dave. I'm a coffee snob. I like my coffee black, beans and water only, so there's nothing you can do to it to make it any better, so it better taste good. So in order to share with you my passion for coffee and a few other things, I thought, why not give you a little bit of a journey from what we would call the bean to the barista. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, hide that. All right, here we go. So I want to take you on a journey from the bean to the barista, and what I call the progression of economic value. And we're going to start this here. All the information is kind of on the slide already, but basically, if you look at this progression of economic value infographic on the screen right now, if you look at your competitive position versus your ability to charge a price to your, oops, jumping on the screen there. Gotta love it. Let's go here. So your ability to actually charge a price, a premium for what you do, and your relevance to the needs of the client. So this is what this looks at. So competitive position versus ability to charge a price or the value, and your needs to the customer. Now, if you start down in the bottom left-hand corner where you're totally undifferentiated and the market determines your price, then you're a commodity. So we speak to a lot of business owners and leaders today. I said, if your business lives and dies by the market, when the market's good, your business is good. And when the market's bad, your business is bad. Well, you're a commodity because the market is dictating to you the success of your business. So coffee beans themselves, raw coffee beans, are a commodity. The market determines the value or price of coffee beans. Now, on average, let's just say a kilo bag of raw coffee beans is about $7. Now, it might be different to that today, but when I created this graphic, that's what the average price of a raw bag of coffee beans was worth. Now, our ability to have a competitive position is limited. There's not much you can do with price because the market determines it. And in the end, what do we want? We want a cup of coffee, or we think we want a cup of coffee. So it's not totally relevant to the needs of me as the customer. But then someone comes along and takes those raw coffee beans and dry roasts them and puts them into smaller bags and wraps a brand around it and then makes goods from those. So then all of a sudden, the $7 a kilo of raw coffee beans is now worth $16 a kilo approximately, because they're now making goods from that. So we can actually start to charge a little bit more. There's a little bit more competitive position, and you're getting more relevant to the needs of your customers, because in the end, what we want is a cup of coffee, or so we think. So when you go from making goods, then all of a sudden, some comes along and says, you know what, I'm going to grind up the coffee beans. I'm going to filter some water through them and put them in a cup and give it to somebody. Now, in Canada, we would call that Tim Hortons. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other places where you would actually pay $1.50 for a cup of coffee. I think some of the 7-Elevens and a few other places now, even you can get Macca's drive-through, I think, where you can get a $1.50 cup of coffee. But when you look at it from that perspective, all of a sudden now we're delivering a service. So that same 1 kilo of coffee is now worth $220. Now you're slightly more competitive because you're providing a service, so you can actually charge a little bit more for that, and you're definitely more relevant to the needs of your customer because, hey, in the end, I want a cup of coffee, or so I think. Nothing like a good cup of coffee. Now, I've had my service delivered to me, but then what's beyond delivering a service? Well, then along came Starbucks, and they decided to stage an experience. They made coffee drinking an experience. So all of a sudden now, this is why we're paying $4.50, $5.50 or more for a cup of coffee. So that same 1 kilo of coffee now is worth $648 because you've created an experience. You certainly have a far greater competitive position. You're far more relevant to the needs of your customers, and you can charge a premium or start charging a premium for what it is that you do. Now, when you think about Starbucks or any of these the cafe culture that exists today now, what do they offer to us beyond just the coffee? You know, there's piped music, there's internet, there's books to read, there's comfortable chairs. And so what's actually started to happen is it's become less about the coffee, or coffee's now become a part of the experience, not the reason why we go to the cafe. And as Starbucks is clearly identified, they've identified this third place, that it's not really home, it's not really work, it's just a place where their customers can seek refuge. And while you're there, have coffee. Now, how many of you listening or watching this yourselves actually go for a coffee meeting? You use coffee as an excuse to have a meeting with somebody. So like I said earlier, is we thought we wanted the cup of coffee because that's what we thought we wanted. But actually what we wanted was a place to go and sit down and relax and have a discussion with somebody or a conversation with somebody, or get away from people. And coffee became now the excuse, if you like, or the reason to do that. So now it's more about the experience we have. But here's the kicker for all of this. Everyone's now trying to stage an experience. So staging an experience for your client has now become the price of entry. If you're not creating or staging an experience for your clients, you're not even meeting the price of entry into having a business these days. So what goes beyond then staging an experience for your clients or your customers? And it's what we like to call guided transformation, or helping people fall in love with why you do what you do for them. And the best way to explain this, having people fall in love with your business, is, can you imagine that if your customers or consumers or clients, whatever you choose to call them, thought your business only existed just for them? How do we make every single client feel like our business exists just for them? That high level of radical client centricity where they think the business exists just for them. It's kind of like, if any of you watched the movie Jerry Maguire, what I call the Jerry Maguire effect. Not the show me the money, but in the movie Jerry Maguire with Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr., Tom Cruise wrote his new mission statement, how he wanted to treat their customers in terms of the elite athletes that they took care of. And of course, the company didn't like that, so they ousted him. And then he managed to save his one client, Rod Tidwell, which was Cuba Gooding Jr. And as they look at that, he obviously only had the one client, so he did everything he can to treat that one client as his most valuable client. So much so at the very end of the movie, they're hugging it out, and the other agents are going, or the other elite athletes talking to their agents going, how come we don't have that relationship? Right? Because imagine if you could treat every single client like they were your only client. Imagine if every single client or customer you had felt like your business existed just for them. How do you create that? Now, it sounds like this unbelievable thing. Well, how do we do that? Because I assure you, when you create that level of business love in your organization, you will be totally differentiated in the marketplace. You'll become totally relevant to the needs of your clients, and you can charge a premium for the work that you do. Now, I'm going to say, when I talk about a premium, by the way, I'm not talking about, ridiculous pricing. I'm talking about just a premium. Like, there's a fair value transfer that is beyond traditional pricing. So what are some great organizations that we're in love with? Like, what are some examples? So if you think about, like Apple, like, who in their right mind would line up for 2 days outside a store waiting just to get the new iPhone? Unless you love the brand so much that you want to be a part of it at that level, right? Can you imagine if you had people lining up for 2 days outside your store, waiting for your store or your business to open just so that they could be a part of your business? Can you imagine that? Well, that's what Apple do. And it's quite fascinating with people, like, in the power of brand in this sense, is that I've said to people, like, they go into the geeks, the Apple store, and they get served by the geek at the Apple store. And I said, if that geek then went up and left Apple and went to Android or Samsung or wherever, would you leave Apple because the person that you dealt with all the time has gone to the other store and you really love working with that person and they're really helping you? And they said, no, we would still stay with Apple. It would be a shame, but we'd stay with Apple, right? So the question in your business, by the way, is, and this is something, a sidebar on this, little sidebar on this, let's get a bit closer on this one here. Does everyone have a relationship with the people in your team enhanced by your business, or do they have a relationship with your business enhanced by the people in your team? This is what we need to look at in our business. So let's get back to this. So Apple's a great example. And it's what I call the tattoo effect, right? So there's a great book out many, many years ago called Love Marks. It's about how do you create a love mark? How do you go beyond a brand? And that's, I guess, the concept we're playing with here. So how do you create a love mark where people just fall in love with why you do what you do for them? One of the, and that's why I call it tattoo effect. So when you see people who are willing to get a tattoo of an Apple or Nike or Harley Davidson or you name it on their body, they must love that brand so much that they're willing to actually get it and, tattooed permanently on their body. So can you imagine where everyone's like lining up the tattoo artist to get your logo put on their arms? I'm not saying it has to be like that, but the concept, at least if you embrace that, like that's how much people love these brands. So Harley Davidson's a really cool and classic example. So here's a situation for you, and just want you to think about this. So any Harley Davidson owners out there, you'll probably totally understand this. Any of you actually who aren't Harley Davidson owners, just please roll with this with me here. So if I told you could get a Kawasaki-looking, no offense to Kawasaki-looking Harley Davidson for 20 grand, and you can roll it off the lot right now, license, everything like that. We'll take care of it all for you. Take it away right now. No more to pay 20 grand. Or you can have a Harley Davidson that's very similar, like obviously the original Harley Davidson for 50 grand or 40 grand, but you have to wait about 3 to 6 months to get it. And then when you get it, probably have to tighten everything up because it rattles and hums all the time. Which one are you going to choose? 20 grand, take it off the lot right now, or 40 grand, wait 6 months and have a Harley Davidson? Now, most people, if you're truly in love with motorcycles, will take the Harley Davidson. So here's the interesting thing. Why they can charge twice as much and people will wait for it because people love Harley Davidson. Because what Harley Davidson has created is beyond, they're not a motorcycle manufacturer. They're a lifestyle company. And they've created this feeling in their organization. And that is they now give the ability for a 40-year-old accountant to dress up in black leather and drive through small country towns and have people be afraid of them. I mean, that's the whole movie Wild Hogs with Tim Allen and John Travolta, and there was somebody else in it. And that was what it was all about. And so they've created this feeling that they're now able to express. Okay, so they're actually so relevant in the hearts and minds of the people that they own. They're so differentiated in the marketplace, and they can charge a premium for what they do. Right? Because when you think about your Harley Davidson, when that Harley Davidson arrives, it's my Harley Davidson. It's my hog. And for those of you who don't know, hog is Harley Owners Group. So all of a sudden, this is my Harley Davidson. This is my fat boy. Nobody else has this fat boy. It's mine. So how can you create that same feeling that Harley has created for its clients or its consumers or customers, so they think that it's my this, right? We strive to be part of our clients' teams. We want them to say that we're their coaching team, the leadership coaching, business coaching, evolution coaching, whatever it is you want to call us, but we want to be part of your team, that we are your team. We are part of your organization. Right? We want you to fall in love with why we do what you do for you. And we want you to do the same for your clients. And so how do you get that Harley feeling or Harley effect for your clients in your business? I'm not here to tell you how to do that. I'm just challenging your thinking. Is if you want to stay relevant in the hearts and minds of the people you choose to serve, and you want to stay differentiated in the marketplace, and you want to charge a premium, fair value for the transfer that you create for your clients, then you need to go beyond staging and experience. And that's what this is all about. So how do you do that? Right? What that is for you is totally up to yourselves. But here's a simple way to take a look at that. One of the things we, beyond helping people create a culture and strategy alignment in their organization, and a sense of busting the myth that execution is hard, and developing leadership depth and strength in an organization. One of the other things we help people to do is to understand the culture and brand relationship. And so this ties into this getting people to fall in love with why you do what you do. Because if you want your consumers or your clients or your customers to fall in love with why you do what you do for them, the first people that need to fall in love with why you do what you do is not only yourself as the business owner or leader, but the people in your organization, your team. Okay, because if your team don't love why you do what you do, then they're not going to speak that love to the market, and the market and the consumer won't respond in kind. And if you don't love it, then how do you expect your team to love it? Anyone watching this, I always ask them, like, for those of you who are married, why did you propose to your partner? Why did you get engaged? And people get engaged when they're in love. So no different for business. If you want your team to be engaged in the work that they're doing and bring their best self to work every day, then they need to be engaged in why they're doing what they're doing. So how do we help our team get engaged? Well, that is a strong sense of purpose. Okay, so in your organization, do you have a very clear and simply articulated sense of purpose to the organization? People want something to believe in. So what is your something to believe in that they get them out of bed every day? I can't wait to get to work and contribute to this cause, calling, movement, purpose that we have. And so they're engaged when they come to work. And then we get them a set of values that they're empowered to make smarter decisions through. They'll know that you believe in them, that, hey, I've got someone who believes in me. Not only do I have something to believe in every day, I have somebody who believes in me. And then the last thing you want to do from a culture point of view is make sure you have a vision of the world that's far greater than all of us combined, an inspiring picture of the world that is the impact that we're going to have when we're living our purpose through the lens of our values. And then they now know also that they have someone to believe in. So I have a sense of purpose that gives me something to believe in. I have a leader who believes in me, so that I know that someone believes in me, so I'm empowered to make smarter decisions. But I also have a leader that I can believe in because they have this picture of the world, this impact of the world that we're going to create together that's far bigger than all of us combined. And to me, that is culture. So your purpose, your values, your vision of your organization, when we speak that love to the market, and you know what it's like when you're served by somebody who just loves what they're doing, where they're doing it. It just adds to your experience. It adds to the whole magic of the transaction that you're performing or the relationship you have with that organization. Equally as it detracts when you know somebody who doesn't like where they're working and doesn't like the work that they're doing. So when we get everyone in love with why we do, they're engaged, they want to be a part of it, they speak that love to the market and consumers can't help but respond in kind with love. And then guess what? We get everyone falling in love with why we do what we do for them. And this is what we need to do. Okay. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah. So this is what I want to challenge you. Like, it sounds funny, like business love. Well, love is all you need. John Lennon said that. I think it was pretty smart. I think it was John Lennon who said it. And in business, what is wrong with having people love why they do what they do for the people that they get to do it for? What is wrong with being being served in an organization by people who just love why they do what they do? And you can't help but fall in love with that organization in return. So if you want to create a progression of economic value in your organization and be differentiated and be relevant and charge a premium for what you do, you need to get yourself and your team very clear on why your business exists, how you uniquely think about it, and the world you're creating together, and lead, live, and love that every day. Speak that love to the market so the market and consumers can respond in kind every single day, at every single moment, and become radically client-centric in that space. Because really, at the end of it, it's all about people doing business with people. I speak to so many people about, business to business, business to consumer. Well, I'm here to tell you it's all human to human. In the end, it's all human to human. It's people doing business with people. And if we can make this amazing culture and brand, it will transcend just the individuals. It will, you'll have a collective that everyone just wants to be a part of. Imagine if your business was turned into a movement. Like, that would be pretty powerful. So get your culture right. Speak that culture as your love for your business to the world and the market. And then the market and consumers can't help but respond in kind, because culture is how we think and feel about our business, and brand is how the market and consumers think and feel about our business. It's your job to bring those two halves of the heart together so everybody falls in love with why we do what we do. And this is why Harley Davidson exists today. And you know what? Just quickly on Harley, it's quite fascinating because can you imagine about staying relevant in the hearts and minds of people you choose to serve? The demographic for Harley will be changing. So Harley Davidsons are loud, noisy, carbon unfriendly, gas guzzling, noise polluting machines. Physically, the motorcycles. So how does an organization like that get people to still fall in love with them, and that when the world is changing and we're looking at the future of our future generations, and they go, well, those things are actually detriments to the future generations. So what has Harley Davidson done? It understands that in the next 10 or 20 years that it's the people it chooses to serve is going to change. So what do? They're bringing out electric bikes. So they have the Tesla of motorcycles now. I think it's called the Livewire. And they've also created Harley scooters and Harley, so really old school retro looking and electric bikes. So they're doing whatever they can to stay relevant in the hearts and minds of people they choose to serve, and to make sure that next generation still loves what they're doing and why they do it for them, and to get that sense of lifestyle. So it's not just once you get there, you got to keep going. You got to keep evolving. So many of you know who Jeff Bezos is. Like him or love him or hate him, totally up to you. No worries, Jimmy. Thanks, mate. You're one of the guys who understands this at the highest level. So kudos to you and the work that you guys are doing at my online guy. So you even named your company My Online Guy, which is awesome, man. But rather than focusing on the competition, Amazonians spend every day of their waking moment trying to think about how to make their customers' lives better. Just let me ask you, forgetting who said it, is everyone in your organization striving to find ways to make their customers' lives better? Oh, so Christina just sold my Harley. Awesome. Yeah, so are you doing that? Because here's something that's really important, and I've always said, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to have favorite Clarisms, but this would be one of them if I am. That if you don't start anticipating the future needs of your customers, the one thing you can start anticipating then is not having future customers. So your ability to anticipate the future needs, like, you need to have that deeper level and relationship with your clients so you can understand what it is that matters most to them. And not only now, but into the future. How many of you who have clients, do you know what their goals are for the next 3 or 5 years? How many of you who have clients or customers who are watching this know innately who their customers are? Because one of the things that we're always adamant about is, who are our customers' customers? Because if I can understand what's happening to our customers' customers, it will help me anticipate the future needs of our existing customers, and then therefore help us position ourselves to stay relevant in the hearts and minds of the people we choose to serve. Because when you go to that depth, everyone says, oh, hindsight is 2020. Well, everyone wishes they had hindsight when they just should have used insight in the beginning. Get the insight from talking to your clients and finding out what their future needs are, what they see going forward. This is what we need to do. Okay. And if you're not doing it when I talk about being radically client-centric and helping people fall in love with why you do what you do and guided transformation, how do you expect to become, an organization where your clients think you exist just for them if you don't understand them well enough? So the ability to anticipate is the ability to foresee growing problems, disruptions, customer needs, and new opportunities, and position yourself to be ready for that, much like Harley Davidson is right now. And the last thing I want to leave you with here, and I'll answer any questions and comments, and thank you for those who have been participating this morning, is if you don't do it, somebody else will, I assure you. So are you waiting for a new business to come along and rub your nose in a future you were positioned to own, but you just didn't bother to do the work, to do the insights, to speak to the clients, to find out the needs? Because if you don't keep solving those needs and understanding that those needs will evolve over time, so therefore your business, how and what you do, will need to evolve over time with it, well, someone else will come along and find a way to do that, and you'll miss out on it. Yes, thanks, Al. Yes, Al's our latest person to join our team. He's going to be heading up our entrepreneur community. So really great to have Al here, bringing tons of wisdom to our organization with Lisa and I. Lisa and I were joking last night about this. Say, Al, you sort of sit on one side, Lisa's on the other, and I sit in the middle. It's great to have that balance. Yeah, love it, Big Al. Love to have that balance to our team. And very excited to have you here. But this is the whole thing. We're constantly adding to our capacity and capabilities for greatness, which is what we deem evolution, because we need to stay relevant in the hearts and minds of the people we choose to serve. So 25 minutes in. I want to do a half an hour session this morning. Hopefully that's helped you get some insights on how to create the progression of economic value, how to move beyond creating an experience or staging an experience for your clients and start to create guided transformation. Please, please, please find a way to make your clients or customers feel like your business exists just for them. In order to do that, you need to understand them at the deepest level. In order to do that, you need to understand your customers' customers, especially those in business relationships. If you're dealing directly with the consumer, remember, it's still all human to human, and you should still find out and get to know them at the deepest level so that you can understand how you can stay relevant in their hearts and minds, because otherwise somebody else will. I'll leave you this one interesting thought, and if there's any questions that come up, I'll gladly answer them for the remaining few minutes. Uber, of course, we all know Uber very well, and I won't go into all the stuff we already all know about Uber. But one question I love to ask people about Uber is, if the taxi companies had just created the app, would Uber exist today? Would the taxi company be sharing its market? Would it have to reduce or change its pricing structure if they had just created the app? Because ultimately, all we wanted to know was, where the heck is my cab? I've just left the bar late at night. I want to take a taxi home as a responsible person. I've got my kebab and I'm waiting for my taxi, and I'm going, I called them like 20 minutes, 30 minutes ago. Where are they? And then I had to call the cab company back up. No, it's on its way. And you can stand around for an hour and just not know. But if I knew exactly where my cab was, who was driving it, when they'd be picking me up, would I be complaining anymore? No. And that's what the app has done for us. So, and they wouldn't have possibly even to change their pricing, but because they didn't think they needed to, they didn't need to evolve. They didn't need to. They had the market thing. They had licenses with the government. They didn't need to do that. Yet something else came along and disrupted their industry. And if they had just created the app, Uber might not exist today. So now someone else is rubbing their nose in a future that they were positioned to own. Don't let that be you. Any questions, comments from anybody? I'm happy to take right now. We've got about 3 minutes left. Yeah, so Jimmy said, I can speak firsthand from a pragmatic perspective. There is huge demand in the market for people who actually give a shit about the people they work with. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like one of our, and Lisa and Al know this, and Jimmy would know this from working with us as well, that one of our, we have 2 criteria that you must meet to work with us at Circle Leadership, beyond even whether you get to our culture, our purpose, our values, and anything like that, is one, you have to demonstrate that you actually give a shit, you care deeply about your people, because if you don't, we won't work with you. And then secondly, you have to be willing to evolve yourself as a leader, because if you're not willing to evolve yourself as a leader, what you end up creating in your organization is this, and then people get pissed off because they got nowhere to go because you haven't created space for that, and then they ended up going this way. So if you truly care about your people, which is awesome, but then you know you need to make space and capacity for them to be able to evolve with your organization, well, then that needs you to do it too. And then even as a consumer, if you care that deeply about your people, guess what? They know what it feels like to be cared deeply about. They can then translate that into working with the clients and care deeply about your clients or your customers. Awesome, Jimmy. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Oh, I'll put this up here. I want to just, there's one more. Let me see if I can just add this in here. I'll put this here. Here's the last thing. I said I had a last thought for you. This will be the last thought for you. One of the exercises we take leaders through, business owners through, is put yourself out of business. Can you imagine sitting down thinking, so Jimmy, I know Christina's watching this, a few other people, and you probably may have done this with your business already, but wherever your business is, take a whiteboard or notepad, go across the street, look back at your business, and go, if we were going to put ourselves out of business, or someone was going to come and put us, what would they need to do to put us out of business? So what business would we need to build on this side of the street to put us out of business over there? And my thing's, why would I try and put myself out of business? Well, here's the thing. If you're not trying to put yourself out of business, I guarantee you somebody else is. But when you're putting yourself out of business, you're only putting your old way of doing business out of business. But when someone else is putting you out of business, you're out of business. And that will also help you to question and challenge. It's not what would you have to do wrong in your business to go out of business. What would be somebody else need to create that would challenge or take your market share or possibly put you out of business. So it's a great exercise to do for any of you watching this who want to start brainstorming ways that you can create this guided transformation and have people fall in love with why you do what you do and evolve and stay relevant. Well, do a put ourselves out of business exercise. It can be very confronting, but also it could be the thing that saves your organization. All right, we've reached 30 minutes. No other comments. Thank you very much, everyone, for chiming in. Anybody watches this after the fact, if you have any comments or questions, please put them in and I will respond. Either myself or Lisa will jump on and respond to those. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Thursday when we go live.